first of all, try not to get tilted about your teammates or blaming them, because it's a waste of time to be upset about others, and the only person in the team that you can improve is yourself. Don't get me wrong, I'm often upset about what other people do. It's unavoidable, but try not to become too obsessed about it, because it doesn't really help you personally. I know it is a big problem if you feel like you depend on what your team is doing, but trying to find the right balance and at least trying to improve your personal skill is the only way to help you get further. Communication is very important in a team-based game, but if people are not doing any callouts, then you need to be able to read situations yourself and try to gain more awareness so you don't rely on your team as much. Also, please keep in mind that there is no 100% right or wrong. There are always different ways to play a hero, a map, or a whole game. Everything is always easier said than done. And something that I keep in mind as well is that everyone is a little bit stressed during the game. Everyone can make mistakes, including myself, but the best thing you can do is to minimize those mistakes and don't turn them into habits. So this game review is about me giving you my personal opinion and tips about how I would have approached things if I were in your situation. And also there are many situational playstyles, and this information cannot be applied to every single game, but we're looking at the specific one right now. Also, I'm not a professional coach, I just do this for fun for my friends, and I have reviewed mainly my friends' gameplays who want to have my opinion. And I also have played the game since it got released, and I never really stopped playing. I actually have some experience in all roles over the years and have a decent general understanding of the game. And my personal skill rating peak is at like 4050, something like that. And I have played at pretty much every rank on different accounts with friends to understand how people play in each bracket. So today we're reviewing a game from the point of view of an Nano in Plat on Rialto. As far as I know, he doesn't usually play support, and I got to know him a while ago when he was playing DPS on console. So first of all, some general facts about Nano. I think she's the strongest and hardest support to play because you actually need to aim, unlike Mercy, Kappa. But her abilities are also very strong, something that no other support has. Ana is the character that I got to Grandmaster with, so I suppose that's my strongest hero at the moment. She deals 70 damage per shot, so that means you need 3 shots to kill 200 HP targets. You can't headshot though. Unscoped shots are projectiles, and scoped they are hit scan. Also, a little fun fact is that enemies can see your scoped shots in the air, kinda like widow shots, but not your unscoped ones. Biotic grenade deals 60 damage with 4 seconds of healing prevention on enemies and heals 100 on allies and increases healing from all sources. Nano boost increases damage by 50% and reduces damage taken by 50% and also heals 250 HP. Okay, so on the first point, defense, your positioning depends on how the team plays. If they're far forward, like this, then this is fine. You generally want to watch out for flanks though. They could go through the building to the right or go through the left side right here. Oftentimes snipers like to go this way, so they're going this way to try and get a pick, because supports usually stand around here in the open. Thankfully you're like kinda covered, but technically they could still see your head. So this specific position is actually not like the best to be in. Either you can be even further back or further forward, depending on like where your team is holding. So your team is holding very far forward, around the corner at least, so that's fine. Some people actually hold this corner instead. So that means there can be flanks through this building here, and there can be flanks up top or to the left side. So there is like a lot of space that people can take to attack you from different angles. So generally, because this bush doesn't actually protect you and your head is still peeking out, but we're playing at a low rank here right now, so this is low plat. So I don't think that they would do it, but if you want to do things correctly, then you should probably stay even further back, just a step further back, so you force them to be close. And if they are close, then people can actually help you, or you can deal with it better. Also, I hate when tanks walk through enemy shields and then expect healing, which is impossible because when they're holding far back as support, you just can't heal them and you have to walk all the way forward through the shield in order to get a heal off on them, and that takes a lot of time. So if you communicate, I would tell them about the shield and how not to stand in front of the payload. It makes things really difficult for a support, especially as Ana, to get a heal off like this. An example would be like, let's say the payload is right here. A lot of tanks like to like hold in front of the payload, which means as a support, when you're further back, you can't see them in front of the payload, which forces you to go all the way like to here, which is really, really close to the front line, and you can take a lot of splash damage, you might get picked, you might get killed. So generally as a tank, I would love them to be like next to the payload, like either on the left side or the right side or behind it. You can also be on top, but if you're, for example, Reinhardt and you shield up there, then people can still shoot below your shield and you can get shattered if you stand on top of the payload. So anyone standing behind you as Reinhardt, they will get shattered every time. So generally I would like them to stand around this area here. But it doesn't seem like anyone was flanking on the left side, thankfully. So everything is fine so far. The line of sight is so important here. If the tanks are going too far forward and you're this far away, you just can't heal them. Which is why it's so important to communicate and tell them, I can't heal because you're too far forward, so back off a little bit. Unfortunately, your Rotok is gonna die. I think the Nano was kind of wasted because you already lost one person. And then you lost a lot more people because they started pushing, which was good by them. I'm actually surprised that they did that. The Bob was even more wasted because you already lost like you lost like 3 people, and then he used his Bob, which did nothing at all. So I think it would have been better here to save your ult for the next fight, to win it. Because you're trying to hold them before the checkpoint, preferably. Standing in the middle of the bridge is always dangerous, considering shields break really fast and hit scans can get a pick on you. And the sleep dart for the Nano Genji is hard to hit. It was a good attempt, but sadly didn't work out. It seemed like the teamfight was most likely lost anyway. Yeah, therefore, because of the wasted ults and everything, you lost the entire first point. Without being able to recontest properly. So the rest on the bridge, by the way, the rest on the bridge was garbage. I would lose my mind if I had this Mercy on my team. You did well killing the Genji though. Thankfully none of the enemy team members went to help the Genji to snowball because they were busy fighting your ulting Echo, so that was another wasted ult. Especially after they already kept the point. So I don't know if you were aware of that at the time, but yeah, I wouldn't use any ults or try to recontest just after they kept, because their spawn is gonna be much closer. For the ones who don't know, so here's the first point that you cap. Once you cap, their spawn is gonna be right here. Like, it's really not that far away. And once they cap, your spawn also changes. Instead of spawning from down here, your spawn is all the way back here. Like, that is really far away. So it's not in your favor to try and win a fight when they just kept the points, because their spawn is always going to be closer and it's always going to be in their favor. So in this case, it's better to actually save ults, regroup, and then try to wipe them and stabilize. As I said, Ashe's ult was completely useless. Mercy apparently also used her ult, completely useless. Like, everything was useless at this point, because all the ults did not give you any value, and you could not stabilize, you could not wipe the team, you could not stop the payload, so you just basically lost the entire first point. Also, another interesting fact is that the payload actually heals. It doesn't heal that much, but it does give a little bit of healing, AoE healing, but only on attack. So they do have a slight advantage when it comes to team fights. Okay, so after killing Genji, definitely back off to regroup. So standing on the right side is probably not the best positioning, because if the enemy pushes you, the only way you can go is across the street towards the left side. So if you start here, you would have to walk all the way back into this direction, and they're always gonna shoot from this position. So there is like a big gap of visibility. Like, this entire vision here is where they can shoot you. Like, this whole area where you're walking, they can shoot you all the time. And if they get a potential pick on you, then they keep pushing, you stagger even more, they are more likely to win the fights, they're more likely to keep the second point. So you definitely don't want to do that. Generally, I would probably play around corners. So this is one corner that people can play. You wait for your tanks. So tanks should be holding here, and then you stand further back, probably here, where you're kind of safe, because there is no enemy that can actually shoot you unless they go on the high ground as a flanker. But at this rank, I don't think that's gonna happen. Generally, I would rather stay at the safer distance rather than in an angle that is unfavorable to you. Also, if you have taken some damage and you walk past the health pack, you might as well just take it, because it saves time for your other support to heal something else rather than you. Unfortunately, this has no value at all. Like, sure, okay, you hit your sleep dart, you dealt some damage, but what does it do? It doesn't do anything. Now you can't really help your team when they try to recontest now. So either you should have died much sooner, or you should have gone back to your team to regroup. So now you have your Nano. You usually look for a target where you can combine your ult with, like a Nano Genji for example, but you don't have one. Nano in Zarya is fine, because if she has high energy, she is actually the highest DPS tank, so she can do a whole lot with that. The only problem here, I think, is that she should not duel a Widow. I would never duel with a Widow or Hanzo as a support, because they're already facing you, especially when they're already facing you. They just need one shot to kill you, and you need 3. At this rank, you can be more aggressive, but I wouldn't do that at higher ranks, because their aim is even better than this. Regardless of the rank, it's actually surprising how good someone's aim is. Especially in Plat or Gold, you would be surprised how good they actually are, because they probably have played other games. The only thing that actually keeps them back from ranking up is the fact that their positioning and their timing and their, ult economy and everything is just not as good as higher ranks. But the aim is usually not an issue. Well, thankfully you were able to stabilize for a push. And yes, Mercy should be healing you. She has the awareness of a fucking potato, but at this point you could have just healed yourself and have your nade ready for the next push, because they were just regrouping anyways, right? Okay, you're in a somewhat safe position right now, but always need to be aware of where the enemy's gonna go. The nade was fine because it helps to secure some kills, especially when you call it out, then it makes it a little bit easier. The only thing that would have been a little bit better, I guess, is if you would have hit yourself with it too, to heal yourself, because you're still low. Thankfully the enemy team has no clue that you're low, and they're not even shooting you, so they're just like focusing the tanks. But yeah, just to be more efficient, you could have healed yourself and purpled them. This is fine. You see there's a Sigma shield. That's actually surprisingly smart by someone who's at this rank. He put the shield behind your tanks just a moment ago. Let me see. So they're battling your tanks, and he put the shield behind your tanks, towards you basically, which is a big issue for healers to actually keep the tanks alive. So that forces you to be close, right? If you would be holding at a safer angle, which would be probably here, then you would not be able to heal your tanks. So either you need to tell your tanks to back off because there's a shield so they can get healed, or you have to walk forward. But thankfully you were already kind of close, and you got a good nade off that healed all 3 of you. That was perfect. And you naded the enemy Sigma, so that's like a very high value nade. And then you were able to hold it. Oh, unfortunately that bob was shit. I didn't think that you... okay. Well, that was a bad angle. He should have put the bob like here at this box, or make him land right there. Oh well. Gold, Plat, Ash, I guess. But either way, you were able to recontest, which was fine, so you're touching points. It's not really your job to do that, to contest, but well, your tanks are there now, so now you could go to to a better position, to a safer position, because you don't actually want to have anything in your face. Always try to be aware of where the enemy widow is. So this is good for you right now, because you have a decent amount of ult still. You're gonna get your Nano, you have Bongo, you have Echo's ult, and you have Graph. So that's actually not a bad situation for you. You could be able to hold this right here. I would just be careful with Sigma's ult because, well, it doesn't usually take very long for McCree to get his Deadeye, so if they can combine that, then you have no defensives, you have nothing that can save you, like there's no shield up in the air. This is super dangerous because your entire team is in one spot, which means Sigma can get a huge ult off here, but this angle is interesting because there is probably no damage to follow up on that, so I think he should be fine. Yeah, what a surprise, he's actually using it right here. Okay, unfortunately Mercy died. The Nano on Ashe was fine, because it's a quick heal on a squishy and they might be able to do something here. It actually looked winnable, especially with the Bongo now. Echo also used the ult. Unfortunately lost it really fast. Always listen to footsteps and be aware of the enemy, as I said before. You could have slapped the McCree behind because he's really close. I can hear that he's really close. And he actually stunned you, okay, and killed you. That's unfortunate. Well, it was definitely winnable here, I think. If coordination was a little bit better. Unfortunately, Mercy died because of the Sigma ult and she was also on fire. Well, most people know that Sigma's ult kills you if you're below 50%. So if it shows critical, and they're up in the air and about to land, they will die 100%, unless they get bubbled. But they will most likely die. Unfortunately, you couldn't get an angle on the Mercy to heal her up, so you lost one healer and then you naded yourself, which was fine to keep yourself alive. Nano on Ashe was also fine, but unfortunately doesn't really get a whole lot of kills. Probably not the best Ashe out there. I have no idea how your Echo died so fast, because he was a tank, he was not critical, or I'm not sure, I haven't really paid attention to him, because I'm looking at your gameplay. But, well, he died really, really fast, and Echo has high damage output, or should have high damage output as well. So it was definitely winnable, considering you also used your Graph and everything, and your Bongo, so you have a lot of damage, actually. So I'm quite surprised that that you lost this. To be fair, the enemy Zen also used his trance. Well, they just counter-ulted your ults. Well, it was winnable. It was close, but it was definitely winnable. Okay, you're standing in the middle of the street again. They have 2 hit scans. That's super dangerous. I wouldn't be here at all. Yeah, look at that. You almost died, so you're forced to use your nade for yourself. Thankfully there was a shield now, but I would never stand here. Like, this is too open. Generally, like, they have 2 hit scans. Not a Widow anymore, but still, like, if they get a pick on you, that's winnable for them. They're gonna push. They're gonna push your team, and you lack the healing, and you're just outnumbered, and you will lose. So this is a weird angle to hold, to be honest. I would think that if the payload wasn't pushed so far forward already, I would probably hold here as a tank. You always want to have natural cover, because, you know, shields break very, very quickly these days. The damage is super high, so you want to hold corners in case your shield breaks, so you can still, like, back off to the side and, like, avoid taking more damage. Or you have to go further back and take the next corner, which would be here, towards your spawn. So I would put the shield right here. And if the shield breaks, you can always just, like, step 2 steps to the left and you're out of line of sight. And you can, like, take some time to get healed, and you can get your abilities back, wait for cooldowns, and then you can re-engage. So if I were you, I would probably be here. Further forward here if you want to be able to reach certain people, or maybe even get some sleep darts or anti-nades off. But you always have to also be aware of flanks, once again. McCree could be walking this way, so you need to be aware of that. Or you can stand even further back. But again, that always depends on your team, and that's very situational. Every game is a little bit different, because your team is holding inside here, which means you have no line of sight. So depending on situation, obviously, you have to adjust, but generally I would say never stand on the street because you might get picked. And I always find it annoying when anybody gets picked without them using ults, because you shouldn't be dying. It can always be unlucky if you get like a one shot by a Hanzo, it's like a unlucky shot, or a Widow gets a pick because she grappled up or something, but I would never want anyone to die to spam damage. That is really annoying. Okay, you're starting to use ults here. That's pretty good. Echo got a kill. Unfortunately he died though. Well, he got a pick. It can work depending on location. If their spawn is further away than yours, then it's winnable for you. The third point is usually much harder to take because defenders' respawn is really, really close. So you usually have the advantage right here to hold them. But trading one kill for one death is like, it's still winnable. I mean, you still have Bob up and your Orisa, your Mercy, and yourself, you're safe. So that's fine. And they're not pushing. Definitely keep the Zarya alive. She wants to keep her energy. Graph takes the longest to... Graph is the only ult that takes the longest to generate. Okay, you're in the open again, so that might be dangerous. The nade on 3 people was fine because of the dynamite. They all will burn for 175 damage. So, yeah. You have 2 single target healers, you don't have a Moira, you don't have Lucio, so you both only heal 1 target at a time. So the nade was actually really helpful, especially because your nade actually increases incoming healing. But you're standing in the open again, so it's like, this is a bad position. I would just not be on this side, because it's not in your favor. And this is another ult where it seems like you're gonna lose, because you're about to die, Orisa's about to die, she's critical, and then you gave your Nano to Genji. Genji just switched to Genji. He was something else before, which means he's probably not gonna do a whole lot with that. So it probably would have been better to save your ult for the next fight again, because it already looks lost. And you should have slapped that Bob at least. Okay, very important to keep your Orisa alive, because she has to contest. Here I would... there's a Sigma ult. This is super important to keep people above 50%. The Mercy was also caught in it. Thankfully she got bubbled. I'm not sure if it's gonna last long enough for her to survive. But she's critical too, which means she would die when she lands on the floor. Just heal them enough to save them from dying to the ult. You don't have to top them off. Like Orisa is now not critical anymore, which means you don't need to heal that anymore. Right now I would switch to the Mercy and try to keep her alive, because you need everyone. Okay, so Mercy actually survived because of the bubble, which was huge. You didn't need to top off your Orisa, especially when there's already a shield down. I would definitely keep an eye on the front line, or whoever is at the front. Okay, overhealing too much here. Your tanks are already full and they have a shield in front of them as well. So you probably just waste your ammo for when you actually need it, or you can at least use it to shoot the enemy team, to pressure them more, to help your team finish them off, because you need to win this fight. Okay, that was perfect. The graph was good. It was a huge graph. They had a counter ult, which was Transcendence, but you countered the counter ult. So that was perfect. That was like a very good anti-nade right there. Okay, nice. So you hold them, thankfully. So it was lucky that Mercy survived because of the bubble. You topped off the Orisa. There was a little bit too much healing there when it wasn't necessary. So you definitely want to make sure that the rest of your team is alive so they can do their job. And you still had your Bongo and Genji got his blade and you had a lot of ults. So if you would have lost this, I would actually be surprised. Alright, moving on to the first point attack. Okay, interesting, they're holding on the high ground. You always want to know what kind of enemies they have, so you know what to do. Unlucky that the Echo died. Shit happens. It's just the start of the round, so it's not too important. Never stand too long on the bridge. Always consider they might have a hook, an Orisa pull, or Pharah or Lucio boop, and so on. So always tap, always check what they have. Generally, I just want to cross the bridge fast. Look out for enemies. Lucios like to come and wall ride from this side. That's what they do very often. They come this way, they wall ride this way here, and then boop you off the bridge from the side. Orisa, from this angle, he can throw his ball towards this side and then pull you off here. Roadhogs like to, like your Roadhog in the last round, he was actually standing here in this door, and then he moved forward a little bit, hooked something off, and then went back again. So there are too many things that can actually boop you off the map. There could be a Diva, there could be a Pharah, there could be a Lucio, a hook, a pull. There is way too much. Echo is way too aggressive, like you don't have dive tanks, you're a slow comp. So none of the tanks will ever help him upstairs. At least they all drop down from the high ground, so that's good for you, otherwise they would just be shitting on you from above. But again, like, don't stand on this bridge. There could always be something that gets you off of it. Thankfully, they don't really have the comp for it, but generally, just keep it in mind. Okay, usually it's hard to keep flankers alive when there are shields in the way, so they gotta play accordingly. Or at least your tanks should use that space to push more, because Genji is taking all the attention to himself. I would rather save the Nano for Blade, because it's your best way to wipe the enemy team, and Graph takes too long. Yeah, that was unfortunate actually. I'm looking at the ultimate status, like your Zarya is at 63%, your Genji has his Blade. So that would have been the most important combo that you could get. This time they don't even have any defensive ults, so he should have gotten at least a few kills with it. But now you used your Nano, so it's very likely that he's just gonna die the next time he's gonna use his ult. And yeah, again, you use your Nano already to... You basically use your Nano into a lost fight. Because you already lost your Genji and then you used it again. So there's no value. Okay, cross the bridge faster. You always want to avoid, like, now that they have a Hanzo, you want to avoid those spots where he can get a random pick on you. So standing here for too long, there's like this little window, they can shoot you here. Standing here, if the shield breaks, he's gonna spam this angle. Like, he doesn't even necessarily have to be such a good player, but if he just spams this way, because he knows that all of you are gonna come around this corner, he might just get a pick on you. And unfortunately you died to a dragon, but you also got pulled, I think. No, actually you didn't get an assist, but well, you were in the middle of the dragon, so it wasn't even spam damage, it was just an ult that he put exactly into that angle. And I'm not sure if you wanted to follow up on the pull of your Orisa, or if you wanted to heal your Genji, but either way it just didn't work out. So now his ult did nothing. You see that he used it, he did nothing with it. I think he got, yeah, he even got rest, so he even died. They just killed him. They just killed him with this ult, and now you have wasted Mercy ult, Genji ult, your ult, the previous fight. You have a grab, but there is not gonna be any follow-up, no proper follow-up, so it's gonna be rough. You only have like less than 2 minutes left. And they have 3 more ults, like they have Nano Blade, and you have no defenses. So yeah, I'm not surprised about the failed Blade. And Zaryas do that a lot, like they're about to die, they just drop their ult and hope that something dies, but you lose a lot of damage because Zarya, I don't know how much energy he had, he loses all of that damage. The highest DPS tank, a lot of damage that can be right-clicked into the graph is just lost. And now you have to try and kill them within a short time with no ults and just like basic attacks. Okay, this is good. Always try to keep the ones who use their ults alive, because you try to get value and win fights. So generally, copying Genji as Echo is actually shit, and I wouldn't recommend doing that, despite the recent Genji buffs. He's just too easily countered, especially without Nano. As you could see, like the actual Genji, he died like instantly, pretty much instantly, and he didn't get any value. So Echo, compared to Genji, is already dealing a lot of damage from a safer distance. Doesn't even have to go so close. So copying Genji is actually not the best choice, but at least it worked out. Alright, again, don't take fights against people who can one-shot you, because it's simply not in your favor and it's not your job. Okay, it's funny how you tried to actually sleep the Hanzo and you got Genji who got nano boosted, which is actually huge, because he should die for it. I know that they have Nano Blade. I think he even popped it there. Yeah, he actually popped it. So if your team doesn't kill him there, you're gonna lose this fight again. And he still got a pick on you. Okay, so it wasn't much value, considering it's 2 ults that you shut down by accident, I think. But he still got a kill on you and you're the main healer. So it's looking bad for your team again. That's a huge nade on your Mercy and your Orisa. And you're wiping. Yeah, that is really unfortunate. At least you have another Nano Blade now, so hopefully that's gonna be of some value. Always be careful with where you stand. Someone has to touch the payload and then you need to Nano Blade. Okay, perfect. Okay, thankfully you dodged both a Sigma ult and Hanzo ult. Their timing wasn't perfect, but at least your Genji got 2 kills, that's really huge. Okay, now you should be winning this fight if you can kill them fast. The Mercy ult was useless, but okay. Might as well. I mean, if it's overtime and you're about to lose the entire game, rather use ults than not use them at all. So generally I would think if I was Mercy I would know that you won the fight and there is no reason to use your Valk anymore. Because you don't need more healing, you don't need damage boost. And she doesn't need to fly around and survive. So it was actually useless. Generally I would say for overtime games where you're about to lose, you might as well just use it all and then try to secure the point so you can fight more. But in this case, he doesn't really have the awareness, I guess. So just pops the ult, wasn't necessary, you already killed everybody. Okay, that Mercy res was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. God, I would lose my mind if that Mercy was on my team, dude. And you can also peek shoot the turret without taking damage. Like you wiggle, or let's say you stand here. You shoot once and then go behind the wall, shoot once, go behind the wall, shoot once, go behind the wall. So it doesn't even have the time to actually get you. It does have some kind of casting time, so you can avoid the damage completely. I would just shoot it with unscoped shots by peeking every time. If you scope in, then you move 65% slower than usual, which, like, you took unnecessary damage, and now they're popping ults, and now they're pushing in. Your tanks need healing, you need healing, so it's basically a waste of time to take extra damage. Okay, and then you lost this one anyways. Well, your next best bet would be another Nano Blade. Torp is actually a good counter pick to your DPS, because it's really annoying for Genji to do something when he's constantly low. The turret can get your echo as well, so if they don't kill it, then it's really annoying for them. Okay, nice. You told the Genji that you have your ult. Perfect. Unlucky that echo was in the way though. That's actually a huge deal, because you spent 2 ults only to lose the fight. Or maybe you... No, you still got picks. But you lost your Genji, okay. Then we res. Yeah, it's still winnable, actually. Unlucky the sleep dart didn't hit, but would have been a good attempt. Keeping your tanks alive. There's a lot of ults going on, yeah, they're using everything. Genji got hit by that dragon. Nice sleep on the Nano Ryan, because you want to take that out. I would leave now though, because there's nobody at the front. You already lost some people. Your hamster's dead, your Genji's dead. I would just leave. Because you don't have much time to recontest. You have 30 seconds and this is your last chance to win the game. Okay, making sure that you regroup and then... Okay, your Pharah died. That is unlucky. Yeah, generally it's not really your responsibility to heal like Echoes or Pharahs because they have their mercy pocket. In this case you have both. I don't usually like having Echo and Pharah because somehow they just don't get as much value as like having another threat on the floor or against the front line. Having two flankers like that are not very coordinated, it just doesn't really work out, to be honest. I hate playing Echo when I have a Pharah on my team, so I usually play Hitscan or something else. Yeah, unlucky that you died there. You had another Nano, so maybe could have healed somebody, could have killed something. So as Ana, your main focus is to keep the tanks alive because you have higher healing output. Yeah, I guess you just used the Nano because... As I said, it's overtime, might as well just use it all. She was the only target there. But it's not winnable anymore. Your spawn is too far away. I think it was really unlucky that Echo got to the Nano because Genji could have had so much more value with his blade if he got the Nano. That was really, really unlucky. And then the next push... Well, first of all, Genji died anyways. He got rest, and then your Pharah dies, got one-shot by the Hanzo, so there's nothing you can do about it. It's just unlucky and, well, good for the enemy team that they even managed to do that. With better coordination overall, I think you could have won the game, plus the few improvements that you could have done. So, quick summary right now on what you could improve. Generally, you seem to be using nanos when someone is already dead or try to make up for it, rather than save it for better situations like Nano Blade or actually keeping someone alive with it. So oftentimes, or at least 2 times, you used it when somebody already died, and then you basically only get the damage boost from it, but you still can't kill anything. So the target that you nanoed, at least at the start, didn't actually get any healing and didn't kill anything. So it was basically wasted. Try to use your nanos for combinations or for different situations. I can't really point out better situations right now because it's always situational. But in this case, I felt like you threw out nanos when the fight was already lost. And generally, your positioning is super important. That's like the most important thing when it comes to almost everybody that I coach. You cannot stand in the open, especially against hit scans. Avoid bridges when they have knockbacks or anything that can knock you off. You can generally DPS a little bit more instead of healing full HP targets to put more pressure on them. Because if they have to back off, if they need to get healed, if they can't push because they're low, that means you have to heal less. So you don't have to like waste your shots on full HP targets to heal them or to pre-heal them. You can also just damage the enemy instead. And then it's also important to always listen to enemy positioning. You can have a look at them, you can try to look out for them, or you can just listen to their footsteps. There was one situation on the second point where McCree was actually flanking. He went behind your team, and I could clearly hear it in the replay. So I would always have a look around and make sure that I cannot get flanked, or at least you can do something about it, or you can sleep him, you can nade him, or try to kill him, or whatever. Better than not paying attention at all, or not turning around and then dying in the end, so there's nothing more you can do. If you are running past health packs anyway, you might as well take them, because it just saves time. Your other healer doesn't have to take care of you, especially when they're not paying attention and they have a potato awareness like this Mercy. And also, like, if she should be healing you, but it's taking too long, then just heal yourself. Like, you can nade yourself. You will have it ready for the next fight, especially during that one situation where they will still regrouping, so it's not like you're gonna waste it. If you know that they have their ultimates, like Sigma's ult or the Blade, then you should be saving your sleep dart for that. That's just practice when it comes to awareness and how to hit sleeps. So you try to do that before. It just didn't hit. I mean, that's just how it is. You can't have 100% accuracy, so it's just something that you can keep in mind. If you know that they have certain ults, you try to save your sleep dart. Because it happens very often that some people just like to throw their sleep darts out. Like this other Ana that I reviewed the other day. He likes to just like, oh, I have this cooldown ready, I'm just gonna use it. You know, and then you have 12 seconds cooldown on your sleep dart and you don't have it ready for when you really need it. And it can be a game changer. It can be changing the entire team fight in your favor. So if you can remember that, if you know that they're gonna have ults and you know they're about to use them, then save your sleep darts for that and try to hit them. Also very important as a healer is healing priority. You don't need to heal someone to full HP if someone else is still critical and about to die. Especially Sigma ults, you try to keep your team alive so they don't die to that ult, rather than saving one person and they're full HP and the other one dies. In this case, the Mercy got bubbled, so he was fine and didn't die, at least not to that ult. Some people like to just heal whatever is closest to them instead of healing the ones at the front that are still taking damage. So you need to look out for what you need to prioritize. So the ones who are still taking damage, if you can see that, if they're taking more damage, you heal those instead of the ones that is maybe low but in a safe position. Okay, so as usual, if you have any questions, just let me know. If there's anything else that you would like to point out. Also sorry about potential background noises. I have a guest here and my mic picks up a lot of different things, so if there is something, I'm gonna try to cut it out in the video, but generally my mic is just very, very sensitive. So there are birds outside, there are kids, and I have a person visiting today. So there might be background noise, so just ignore that. If there are any questions about the review or like a specific situation, or you want me to elaborate a little bit more in certain situations, just ask. You can contact me anywhere. I hope that it was helpful in some way for anyone who's watching. Remember to follow me on my Twitch. If you also want to send your replay, then you can do so via Twitter or Discord, or you can even type something in the comments. As usual, my voice is destroyed by the end of the review. I don't know why that is, but every time I try to explain something and talk so much, then my voice is just broken in the end. And yeah, hopefully this video is not gonna take like an hour. Also, I'm gonna cut it down a little bit so it doesn't take too long. So yeah, see you next time. Thank you for watching.